edition of How Does the World Work? With yours truly, Tim Kilgore. I was mowing the lawn the other day, and it got me thinking about the parable of the wheat and the weeds that Jesus spoke about. For those who don't know the story, there's a man who owns a field, and while he's sleeping, an enemy sows weeds in amongst his wheat. When he wakes up in the morning, his men realize what has happened and ask if they should pluck out the weeds now. The owner of the field tells them not to separate until harvest time when it's obvious which is wheat and which are weeds. I started thinking about trying to come up with a new millennium version of the wheat and the weeds, but I kept coming up with a problem in the illustration. Maybe you can spot it as I tell the illustration that I came up with. We start with the greatest computer expert on the face of the planet. He's certified in every program you can imagine. Not only is he certified, he knows the source code by heart. He can read and write everything from ASCII to Java and back again. He can even troubleshoot or fix any problems with the physical hardware on the computer. Now this man is so confident in his abilities, he asked the greatest computer hacker on the planet to do his worst to one of his computers. He installs as many programs as he can and adds as many files as he can into the computer and hands it over to the computer hacker for 1 month. For that month, the computer hacker installs every single virus he can think of. He adds all sorts of malicious software. He even goes as far as to put in junk code in the source code of several programs. After the month is up, he gives back the computer to the greatest computer expert ever. When the expert receives his computer back, he hands the computer over to his 3 assistants, one of which is a computer programmer, another is certified in Windows, and the last is a phone support technician. Along with the computer, the expert hands a book he wrote, which he describes as the book that can fix any computer issue that may arise. He also gives them a time limit to fix the computer completely, make every file workable again, and the computer as good as when he initially gave it to the hacker. So the assistants go to work for their entire time allotted in fixing whatever they can. Because of the time limit, they're skimming through the book. Obviously, the programming language is completely above the Windows certified technician's head. The latest virus information is over the telephone support technician's head. The Windows certified technician does what he knows and runs the latest Norton antivirus and adds a few tricks from the expert's book. The computer programmer does what he knows and skims through the programming of all the programs he's familiar with while adding a bit from the expert's book. The telephone support technician does what he knows, which is follow the steps outlined in the expert's books, obviously missing on some of the theory on how to correct certain problems. With these experts as they are, they can't fix everything. Why, they're not versed in everything. When they hand the computer back to the computer expert, he says, "You followed my book, and therefore there couldn't possibly be anything left to fix on this computer." Then he goes through and deletes any infected programs from his computer. So, did you spot the problem yet? Why is it the program's fault and need to be deleted? Wouldn't it be the fault of the computer expert for not looking at his computer? Let's go with the illustration in saying that he indeed is the greatest computer expert on the planet and can fix any problem with the computer at all. But he didn't try to fix the problems himself. He handed it to his assistants, who, while well versed in their specific fields, didn't get everything. The programmer missed the latest viruses, the Microsoft certified technician missed some of the code, and the telephone service technician missed the theory behind various fixes. So the reason for this illustration is a lot of what I see on YouTube, mostly with Christians versus atheists, but I'll draw from my own channel as motivation. I'm told that the Jehovah's Witnesses are the truth, and active members will try to convince me as such. They'll start with 1914, but that doesn't really work because I know Jerusalem didn't fall in 607 BCE. So then they'll say something about Matthew 24, about the preaching work and how they're the only ones preaching, but again they run into a problem because I know that's not true. So then it moves to, well, we're the only ones teaching God's name, but I know Jehovah's a mistranslation, and it's not God's name. Till they finally say, can you say it with me here, folks? You're a goat that will be destroyed at Armageddon. You know it's the truth, but you're just trying to oppose it. Right? It's also the case with atheists on YouTube. People will say God created man and woman 6,000 years ago, but an atheist might know that a city named Hamakar was found that was destroyed 6,000 years ago and housed over 100,000 people. Or they'll say Jesus came and died for your sins, but the atheist is going to say the only proof for Jesus is in texts that were written long after Jesus died, or an admitted forgery in Josephus' text. Then it'll move to a God-given morality, to which the atheist is going to know that the morality is a subject to the time period and the culture in which the person lives. Finally, the Christian will say, you're just opposed to the Bible and looking to justify your heathen lifestyle. You're going to burn in hell, or, whatever punishment God seems to dole out. Does this sound familiar? It seems that every Christian feels that all the evidence they have is enough to convince some other person of their way of life. And if the person doesn't accept the evidence they provide or refutes their evidence, they immediately assume that there's something wrong with the person and not their presentation. Like the assistants, they fix everything to the best of their ability, but the expert is the only one who can fix everything. Now, bring that to Armageddon or the end of people's lives if you don't believe in Armageddon. Why should the person be destroyed if God's assistants didn't use the right tools, provide the right evidence, or otherwise to save the person? If a person needs God to appear to them, why can't God do it? Didn't he do that in the past for Abraham? If a person needs to experience a certain feeling, why shouldn't they? Hasn't God done that in the past for the first century Christians at 33 CE and Pentecost? If a person needs specific evidence, why shouldn't they receive it? Didn't God do that in the past for Thomas the Apostle? Think of this illustration. The next time you're going to say someone is unreasonable with what they ask for proof of your religion, couldn't you just be one of those assistants that's missing something? But more than that, think about this illustration every time you think of people dying in Armageddon or burning in hell. Is it their fault for not believing? Is it the program's fault for remaining infected? Or is it God's fault for not personally fixing them, like the expert could have fixed the program? But I don't know, though. I mean, I'm just Tim Kilgore. You tell me, how does it work?